Delicious.
They're really good, but it's really sticky right now.
I like it.
It's for sure they're totally stuck all over my teeth.
I love it. You look great. Let me see your teeth. You do have some.
I know, yeah.
It's okay. We're embracing it today.
Hi, I'm Genevieve Ko, and I'm here today with Sue Lee, and we are here to celebrate Chinese New Year, which some people call Lunar New Year, and we're doing it by making black sesame treats. So Sue, what was Chinese New Year like for you growing up? How did you celebrate?
My most familiar memory of Chinese New Year is getting the red envelope.
Of course, yeah. What was in those red envelopes?
Money.
Yeah, just
cash.
Cold hard cash.
And it has to be crispy new bills.
Yeah.
And families gathering and talking, a lot of talking, and pumpkin seeds.
Yeah. What are some of the sweets that you remember eating for Chinese New Year?
There's the traditional stuff, which is like the types of like bean cakes. They're like pressed into molds.
I remember we used to have this tray. It was this round tray. There were like 8 different compartments, and each of them was filled with a different sweet or
and always 8 because 8 is our lucky number.
Yeah. So Sue, what are you making?
I'm making black sesame candy. During the Chinese New Year, we eat that a lot.
That's awesome. I love those candies, and I grew up with so many different black sesame treats too, but I'm doing a sort of modern take by using black sesame and shortbread cookies. So we're gonna start by making this black sesame shortbread, but we're doing this as a log cookie. I think I pushed the limits of how much butter and fat from the seeds are in there to give it that extra crispness, but they're not too sweet, because I never like any of my cookies to be too sweet.
A very good Asian dessert is not too sweet.
Yeah. So obviously we're gonna start with the black sesame. I actually like to buy the ones that are already roasted. So first, and we're gonna grind it with, I'm gonna open that, the sugar and the salt, because they're sort of abrasive, so they help break them up. All right, so now we can go ahead and pause it. Yeah, so we can see now it's ground, it's getting ground, but I actually want to take it further. Like black sesame seeds, it's like 50% oil in there, and I actually want it to all be released. So
you
we
know
can keep
so
going.
much. I love that.
I don't just know it. I research, I study it. I'm a nerd.
I love it.
Oh, so see, now I think we can stop. There you go. Yeah, so you see how we've gone just past wet sand to the point where they're forming these teeny tiny little clumps, like all the fat has been released from the sesame seeds, and so they're starting to actually stick back together. Oh, it smells so good.
It smells so
right?
good. It's just like,
I know. We're gonna throw in the flour now. Here, that's great, yeah. So now we're just trying to create a really even mixture. All right. Very helpfully already cut our butter for us. I am gonna break these up a little bit. So I actually go ahead and I'm adding both the butter and the vanilla here to actually help the to help the dough bind together. All right, there we go. We're taking it to big clumps.
very long pulses.
Yeah. Thank you. Oops. There. All right. You don't want it to already be so firm and stuck together, because then it won't be as crisp and crumbly, but then you don't want it to be so crumbly that it doesn't hold. This dough tastes better if it goes longer in the oven.
Like crispier.
It gets a little crispier, yeah. So you can just do this in plastic wrap, but I like to start with parchment as well, just to help the shape hold a little more, but I'm also trying to avoid that wrinkle.
I know.
Oh my God.
Listen,
I'm so type A.
I have issues too with log cookies.
It is that desire for
Perfection.
All right, so we're gonna pop this in the fridge. In my most ideal world, you chill it overnight. I think it really gives the dough more flavor.
Yes.
The flour hydrates more fully, but you really just need to chill until it's firm. So like even an hour in a really cold fridge, you'll be ready. So we're gonna unwrap our dough. I can feel it's firm. And I found that if the dough is way too firm when you're cutting it, you do wanna let it sit a little, otherwise it's just gonna all crumble and fall apart, right? I also like to rotate the dough a little while I'm slicing. One of the things for Chinese New Year is having a lot of like very round things because it's supposed to symbolize togetherness. And then I'll put the little guy in the middle. You can actually just bake them straight like this, but I actually like to decorate the tops with some white sesame seeds. And this actually helps, like if you do have any cracks in your dough, you can cover them up this way as well.
My tray is like the child made it.
No.
You know? It's okay, and I'm embracing it. Okay, I'm done.
I'm done too. Perfect timing.
Okay, great.
All right, let's get them in the oven. All right, so our 2 trays of cookies are in the oven at 350, and they actually bake for a pretty long time, like 18 to 20 minutes, because you want them crunchy all the way through. But we're gonna switch the positions of the trays at 10 minutes so that they bake totally evenly.
Great.
Nice and dry and crumbly. And I actually wanted to keep it on these hot trays so that it keeps actually getting even crisper and browner.
So my black sesame candy is very simple. I wanted to ask you, how do you say it in Cantonese?
Hakchima. I don't know. Actually, you would know better than I do. Hakchima, what's the candy called? Tong. So jima tong.
Zhima tang.
Sue's from Taiwan and
Yes.
speaks Mandarin. My family's from Hong Kong. I speak Cantonese.
Right.
So we keep saying things that sound somewhat similar,
But they're different.
they're spoken differently, but they're written the same.
Correct. Yes, thank you. Okay, so first I purchased untoasted sesame seeds. We're gonna toast that first. So 1.5 cups. And then you just spread it out onto a sheet tray. So something I want to talk about before we toast black sesames, obviously you can't really tell when they're toasted, right? Because they're black.
Right.
When you feel untoasted, feel it, it's a little heavier. Once you toast it, it'll feel a little hollow. So we're going to toast it at 350 degrees for 5 to 7 minutes. While we're toasting the sesame seeds, I just want to prep the parchment where the sugared sesames will ultimately land. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray with, very
That's
powerful.
a really intense spray.
Really powerful.
That's not, I'm gonna stand back.
Yeah,
While you say,
but
no,
we're just
we're
gonna do
both-
this. I don't want to get on my
This is, like,
clothes.
crazy.
I know. So the candy, the ultimate candy will land on the oiled side, and then we're gonna flip and put the other oiled side on top. It's so sticky and hot, I don't want you guys to hurt your hands. You don't have to let it cool completely, you know? You can just go ahead and transfer it into a bowl. I'm gonna season it first with salt. And then next is 3/4 cup of sugar, white granulated sugar, 1/4 cup of water, 2 tablespoons of light corn syrup. I'm only taking it to 250. It's happening.
Ooh,
Things
it's
are happening.
Things are happening.
Okay, now we're at 250. I'm turning the heat off. And very quickly, I'm just going to add my sesame mixture in. And I'm gonna work it very quickly. And all I'm gonna do is dump it in here. See, it's already getting hard. All we do is this, we flip it over, I pat it with my hand, and I take a rolling pin, about 1/4 inch thick, and I roll it. At first I thought about making it into a perfect rectangle, so then people can have perfect rectangular shapes. And I was like, you know, it's just not fair.
That's too stressful.
It's too stressful. Yeah, and it's too hot, right? How thick are we now? No, we're about right. Cool enough where you're not too afraid of like touching it. Yeah, it's okay. Let me see. Yeah, let it cool just a little bit and then you can cut.
And then we'll flip it.
Yeah, it's ready. It's okay that it's a little sticky. It'll cool off, and then once it cools, it'll get crunchy.
Like, is that too big?
Yeah, now it's too big. Make it smaller. I think make it any size you want, okay? I gave you a rubric in the recipe.
I know, you told me rectangles and then I made squares.
Yeah, it's okay. It'll be delicious.
All right, so we're ready to taste everything, but we're actually going to start with what I think of as the most emblematic Chinese New Year sweet, which is oranges and tangerines and mandarin oranges. Because in Cantonese, at least, the term for this is gum, which is a homonym for gold. And so when you eat these, it represents wealth in the new year, and also they're just delicious because they're in season.
Right, they're so sweet. I remember as a kid, we would always be gifted a kumquat tree. Did you ever get those?
Oh my goodness. That's such a lovely gift.
Yeah, you would bring to someone's home a kumquat tree, or you would have one, because the way you say kumquat in Chinese is jingju, means golden orange. This is still my favorite. Doesn't matter anytime, anywhere. Yeah.
With a cup of tea.
Yes.
And I remember sitting with my grandma.
And just like eating oranges.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm super excited to try these black sesame candies because, I grew up with eating these, but I actually never had homemade ones. I love breaking it off. It's so nutty and it's so tasty.
I like the addition of salt because I think it helps with balance out the sweet.
No, this is so tasty. I actually love the way it looks too. You can see the white from the inside of the sesame.
And tea to go with it. It's a little sweet.
But it's definitely not too sweet. I love that about this too. Like it's candy and it's like has a perfect saltiness.
I mean, you're not supposed to eat the whole plate. You know, you eat like one. Next, let's try your cookies. I'm really excited. This tastes fancy. I feel like I just went into a bakery, like a fancy patisserie, and they're like, we're gonna try an Asian flavor. This is really
It's
good.
all the richness from the butter and the black sesame.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of salt.
Yes.
You taste that too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of salt in here too.
I love fancy things, you know?
Sesame is such an important ingredient in Chinese cuisine and has been for thousands of years.
The Chinese sesame paste is very different from tahini, for example, right?
yeah.
It's toastier.
And same thing with sesame oil is a huge part of our
Yes,
food too, right?
yeah.
So that's pressed from sesames, but pressed from toasted sesames, so you have this really
Nutty.
taste. I think one of the things I love the most about both of these is that they can function the same way as the oranges, in which they make great gifts. Like we can absolutely package these up because so much of Chinese New Year is about
Giving.
It's not quite a red envelope, but it doesn't beat the cash.
If you visit me, bring me a red envelope, okay?
Yeah, we really hope that these two sweets will really give all of you a really happy New Year. 恭喜發財，新年快樂。
恭喜發財，新年快樂。